Morning, Oj. Welcome to episode 107. Studio 1A, I believe we call this.
Yeah, we've been consistently in Studio 1A the last few weeks, or episodes, I guess, not weeks anymore. But yeah, it's a hot, muggy one again today. But sure, I'm happy to be here, Crouchy.
Well, I'm glad to have you, Oj. Always good to see your smiling face here. As you noticed from the intro, well, we spent a lot of time talking about people from our childhood passing away, and we lost two iconic ones this week, eh? Brother?
Yeah, no doubt. Actually, three.
Oh, yeah. Are you talking
We
about
got Theo.
Theo Huxtable?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a. I think he drowned, didn't he?
This is why you got to be careful on spring break at these destinations. You don't want to be the next one that passes.
Yeah, well, there's no one more careful in the water than me. But yeah, that's Ozzy was the first one. You know, I'm to say that I was an Ozzy Osbourne or Black Sabbath fan would be a complete lie, but certainly knew a few of his songs, or recognized a bunch of them. But he was I don't know how to describe that cat. He was something.
One of a kind.
Oof, man, the stories. But yeah, Ozzy.
What's your favorite Ozzy song?
Probably Crazy Train.
Probably the most recognizable.
Yeah, some of them I can't even tell you the titles. There's another one I was thinking about too.
Mama, I'm coming home.
No, I know that one. The hell was that?
Iron Man?
Yeah, I don't know. There was a third one that I would know instantly, but you know, and a cool thing about what Ozzy did. Well, I mean, this is like 3 weeks ago now, and he passed away 4 or 5 days ago.
Correct.
But he had that benefit concert for. Is it MS? No.
Parkinson's. I believe he was suffering from Parkinson's for quite a few years now.
So they got the remaining members of Black Sabbath, and Ozzy was out on stage in that chair, and they played a little benefit concert, and they raised like $190 million for Parkinson's, and then I think some of the maybe child cancer.
Yeah, I think it's had to do with a children's hospital.
Jesus, I mean that was outstanding. So you got to give him props for that, and the only thing I'll say about Ozzy is I remember watching that movie Dirt about little screwballs from Motley Crue.
Oh yeah.
And that movie, those guys were bad, and they ended up touring with Ozzy, and they were at a hotel, and that's the infamous scene about Ozzy going on the floor by the pool and snorting ants. And even the Motley Crue guys were impressed or appalled by that. So
yeah, and he's a name synonymous with rock music from our childhood. And then another name which again I was a lot more familiar with was, you know, the creator of the phrase "Hell yeah, brother." You know, the passing of Hulk Hogan.
The Hulkster, yeah, another American icon, I guess. His heyday was when we were young. You know,
yeah.
That WWF.
He was 71 years old.
Yeah.
He passed away at 71. We're in our early 50s. I mean,
he had a heart attack, right? Cardiac arrest.
Yeah, which I'm guessing was
inevitable.
Few,
yeah, exactly. If you had to place a bet on what his cause of death would be, that'd probably be it.
Did you watch wrestling a lot when you were a kid?
Not really, because we didn't have the stations in you, and we had two channels for most of my upbringing there, and then the only time I'd watch it would come into Calumet, you know, and I had friends that I'd hang out with, and they'd
drop the elbow on each other.
Yeah, more than one station, or more than two stations, so we watched a little of that. He had that controversy a number of years ago. We had some racial stuff that he was spouting off, and you know, that stuff's never good. I don't know. I know he apologized, but whatever. You know, that was a kind of a knock on him there for sure. But yeah, that's he certainly was, you know, notable all the way through, recognizable, I guess. You know,
right.
Even up until his death here recently. So.
And as a kid, me and my cousins, we had I got an action figure over right there. That's not Hulkster, but that's the
JYD.
Junkyard Dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, wrestling was big with when we were kids. You know, 2nd, 3rd grade, we had the figures, and we were putting ourselves in figure fours. And I remember the WrestleManias, and Hulk Hogan was able to slam Big John Studd, and then slam Andre the Giant.
Yeah, took down Andre.
Yeah, see, I was probably more enamored with Hulk Hogan, and you were probably drinking beer with Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
But passing of a couple of legends, more legends from our childhood. Here's a topic. I know it's old news, but you know, to us it's the next episode. But All-Star Game, MLB All-Star Game was different ending, a little bit of controversy with your Brewers.
I thought it was Pepto-Bismol for a second.
No, it's these, my wife bought these waters. And, you want one?
No. Yeah, so we have mentioned, I think there's been a couple of times where we've talked about the All-Star games, Pro Bowl type things, and how disgustingly brutal they are to watch, unwatchable. But we've also said that the only one that resembles the game, because they seem to put effort into it, is MLB. Of course, there's been issues and controversies with what to do with the endings. One of my stories was I was at that game in Milwaukee when Bud Selig just threw up his arms and said, "That's it, we're calling the game after 9 innings or after 10, whatever it was, 10 innings, I guess. And no pitchers available." You've made comments about your thoughts on that, and we'll get into it again here in a second, I'm assuming. But I guess the biggest thing going into it was the fact that the National League selected Jacob Mizorowski from the Brewers to be on the All-Star team with only 5 starts to his credit in the majors. I didn't have a problem with it. Part of it, obviously being a Brewer fan, I think I can see the argument having to have a little more of a track record. But the other side of it too is they did ask, I don't want to hear anything from the Phillies. You know, they were whining and complaining. Well, they offered it to 2 Phillies, and one wasn't going to pitch anyway, declined, and the other one, whatever he had, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was, I think it was injury, but 2 Phillies declined it. So it must have been something to do with when they just pitched or when they're scheduled to pitch. You know, Freddie Peralta was on there too for the Brewers, and he had just pitched right before the All-Star game, so they knew going in he wasn't going to throw that game. So he took up a roster spot, but he went there to be part of it because he was selected. So it's an All-Star game, it's a showcase. He was the hottest thing in baseball there for the first 5 starts, or his next 4 after that first one. I don't know, I didn't have too much of an issue with it. What were your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you that the MLB All-Star Game is the closest thing to a real game. But the issue is pitching. We've been up and down this. Nobody wants their pitchers pitching, okay? And like I said, offer it to people, but they're not going to pitch. So if this kid wants to pitch in the All-Star Game, let him. It's not like he was taking a position spot from somebody else. He's a substitute teacher. He's coming in because they got nobody else to do it. The pitching is the #1 issue that still holds All-Star games back from being watchable. Right. And if nobody else wants to do it, and they got this young phenom coming, let him go. If he was playing shortstop, I'd probably have an issue with it. But you might as well let anybody who's in the majors who's a starting pitcher come and pitch, because nobody wants their pitchers doing it, and I don't blame them.
No, it's a tough spot for those managers too. So if you decide you're going to let your starter throw 2 innings, so it was Skeens and Skubal, I believe, in that game.
Yep.
If they're going to throw 2 innings, then that changes their next start, wherever they're scheduled to pitch for their teams. And then all of a sudden, if you say, okay, we're going to let the next guy go 2 more innings, well, now you're in the 4th, and you got 9 pitchers that want to get in the game. So the other side of it is you throw them all 1 inning, well, then you get to the end of the game, you're out of your pitchers, right? So it's a tough spot, but I didn't have too many issues or any issues with Mizorowski pitching.
I agree.
I did hear Mad Dog go off on it a little bit, and
the world should be upset about it, but the reality of the situation is nobody wants to pitch. Let the kid pitch if he wants to.
Yeah. I think the old schoolers, and then the other thing with that is the ending, right?
Right. Now let's get to that in a second, but I'm going to go back to my theory on how to make the All-Star game good. And I know we brought this up, but why not let the AAA guys just throw? Let them audition. If they suck, the guys are hitting home runs, and it's an All-Star game anyway. You save your pitching. It can be competitive. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Announce the pitchers that made the team. They can put it on a uniform. They're there, and then have 7 or 8 AAA guys, eh?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Because those guys would take it serious. And again, if they're not good, the ball's flying out the park, which is what the fans want to see anyway.
True enough.
All right, ending was a tie, so they took the hockey approach now. This is the first time with this, I believe. So they did like a little home run derby,
Yep.
I got some thoughts on that, but let's get yours here first.
I know the traditionalists will not like it, like my father and my uncle for one. I heard both of their takes on it. So I get it from that standpoint, but I don't know what else. You got to do something. You know, you can't. We just talked about it. You can't save these pitchers.
You can't have a tie.
No, you can't have a tie.
So that, that would have been funny if you were at the game and this happened and they said, "No, we're doing a tie."
Yeah, I think I like where you're going with this. Actually, better than what they did. You got another great point, Crouchy. But I think I mean, it was kind of cool, and obviously for what's his face there, Schwarber, to come in and do what he did was pretty dang impressive. Sit on that bench and then walk up, and 3 consecutive pitches he belted out. So you know they have guys. I think it was just their bullpen people, right, throwing the pitches to him. So it's a gimmick. You watch 9 innings a game, then you got to sit through something like that to determine the winner. I don't know what else you want to do. I mean, other than something like this.
They took a page out of the hockey book, right? So hockey ties at the end, they do a shootout. When you pick the 3 guys you want to do the shootout, they did the same thing with baseball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each team picked 3 guys.
So each team had 3 set.
I believe so. And whatever, it is what it is. Let it go. It's exciting. End to it. The only little twist I would add to this is I would keep the batting lineup going the same way.
Start right from
Yeah, whoever the next guy is up, you get 3 outs your inning.
If you got that 295 little slap hitter from second base that's only got 3 home runs, if he's up there, right?
Yeah, and you just play till you get 3 outs, right? If you don't hit a home run, it's out. So maybe now you could hit 2 home runs, 3 home runs, or so you kind of keep the flow of a game going as good as you can. But it's the best they got for right now.
We should see if our people can get some of these thoughts of yours down to MLB offices. See if we can have another positive impact.
We have changed a lot of lives.
Hey, the other part of that too is, did you watch well, first of all, it was cool as hell that they had those pitchers mic'd up.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
I do too.
And
was it Kershaw?
Kershaw, yeah, he was mic'd up in that second inning. I think Skeens and Skubal were too. Well, they were, because Skubal gave up a couple hits and finally got an out. He's like, holy man, I didn't think I would ever get a first out in this thing, But Kershaw was great because he was, into his windup and talking as he's getting ready to throw. Here comes a fastball.
With Smoltzy.
Yeah, and so I thought that was cool, but the last part of it was, and we'll see if they implement it, is the batter or catcher can ask for a review of a ball strike.
Yeah, I'm all on that.
Oh, I loved it.
I'm all on
Especially when it works right. Well, if we're going to sit there and stick that stupid square up there so we can complain about every single call, then let's let these guys...
Then get rid of the umpires. If you're going to have humans making the calls, they're going to make mistakes and they're going to make good calls.
Yeah, but we have everything else reviewed, so why not? These ball strike calls are critical in the games.
Flow of the game.
It's quick.
Flow of the game.
Tap the hat, bang. I'm for it. Review everything.
Why don't we just play online?
Where are we at here?
How about a quick MLB update? Tigers absolutely in the tank. Disgusting to watch. I guess I'm going to take the blame for that too. Hey?
We'll get to them a little bit later also. Yeah, it's crazy what's going on with them. They've lost now 12 out of 13, and most of these games aren't even close.
No, they're getting pounded.
Skeens, well, on the other side, Toronto's red hot. They all of a sudden have the best record in baseball. So Blue Jays are playing really well. Skubal last night, he grinded through those. They had some crazy innings.
That's his last 2 outings. They haven't given up. He's left the game with no runs, and they've lost.
I think did the one game they win in this stretch, was he pitching?
I don't even think so.
Maybe not.
But I know the last 2 times he's been out, he's left in the 6th, 7th inning, no runs, and the bullpen blows it, which goes back to a whole other baseball argument, which we are not getting into today because...
Well, he's into more than just a rut or a funk right now, the Tigers. They're really struggling, obviously, 12 out of 13. But somehow they still have a 7-game lead in that division. That's credit to what they did in the first half of the year to build that lead. But something's got to change there, and we got a little question later on. I think that touches on that a little bit.
Okay.
Toronto 63-42. They got a 6.5 game lead over the Yankees in the East. Tigers are at 60-46, and the Astros just never go away. There they are at 16-45. They got a 4-game lead in the West. National League, unreal. Talk about white hot. The Brewers have been the best team in baseball since June, whatever. Had a phenomenal month in July.
Since Crouchy bought the hat.
Since Crouchy bought the hat, yeah. If you don't believe us, just ask them. Them and the Cubs right now are deadlocked. They had a 1-game lead. Brewers lost 2 in a row now, actually, to Miami. So the Cubs and the Brewers are at 61-43, and the Mets and the Dodgers are at 61-44. So there's 4 teams there that are atop the National League as far as best records go. And I am looking forward to not only today's game. Brandon Woodruff's going today for the Crew. Trying to avoid that sweep at home to the Marlins. But you know it starts Monday, don't you?
Season 87 of Young and the Restless?
No. Cubbies are in Milwaukee
Oh, yeah.
for a 3-game series. And I think Mizorowski's opening that series up tomorrow night. So I will be watching every pitch. Can't wait. I don't care what the weather's like. I'm not going to get shamed into going and sit outside just because it's nice. I'm watching these games.
Can't you just listen to it?
I can, but that's true too. I could put it on XM radio outside and then have it on the TV so I don't miss anything when I go in. But I'll be glued to them, so I can't wait. That'll be a big series. We'll see where we're at after that. So hopefully they get a W today. Trade deadline talk. Next time we get together for this, there'll be some moves, I'm sure.
Tigers actually made a couple of small moves. I don't know if they're positioning themselves to do something, which I hope they do.
Well, they're going to have to do something with that bullpen. I think that's got to be number one, right?
How about just quit going to it and just let the guys pitch? God, it's absurd.
There's your answer.
Anybody argues against my system with this add more starting pitching, watch the Tigers the last 2 weeks. Their bullpen is disgusting. Tigers would be 4th in the Twilight League in the Copper Country right now with that pitching staff.
It's pretty ugly. The Brewers.
I wasn't going to talk about this today either, Oj.
Well, like I said, we're getting into them again later, but yeah, we'll see. Brewers. If you would have told me 3-4 weeks ago, I said you got to do something with the left side of the infield, Ortiz or Durbin third base. Now I am a little hesitant. Ortiz is an absolute wizard at shortstop. He's not hitting. He's hitting better. Like he's now serviceable. I think his average is up to maybe around 220 from, below 200. And the Durbin kid has been great at he's not providing any pop like middle of the lineup type hitting. So I would lay off that. I don't think they need to go and make a big splash there. Maybe corner outfield depth, something in the bullpen, but we'll see. They're small markets, so they got to be careful with what they do with their pitching depth and whatnot as far as trades go. But we'll certainly know more in a couple weeks.
All right, next.
Did you happen to watch, speaking of All-Star games, now I know the answer to this. It's going to be an emphatic no. Did you watch the WNBA All-Star game?
What's the WNBA?
Okay, should we just move on?
Oh.
Is it just me or are those girls becoming more unlikable by the day?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get it. So for those,
I'm actually sick of hearing about it, of all this stuff with it. I thought they had a good thing going. I thought they added some nice names to it. It's never going to be the NBA. It never will be. I don't care what anyone says. I'm not bashing because it's women's sports. It's the money turns, the almighty dollar determines all this stuff. But
they're hard. It's hard to deal with right now. And so, the one thing I've heard is that all of these sports, every sport that's started out, they've always lost money to begin with. All right. So I don't know how long the WNBA has even been in existence. I have no.
It's been a while. I
20
went to a game 25 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Well, it was
It
was in
on.
Madison Square Garden, so I wanted to get in the garden. But yeah, we went. I think we paid $7 a ticket.
So they've been losing money year in and year out. Well, Caitlin Clark comes on last year, and all of a sudden the league starts reaping the benefits a little bit of her popularity, which made all these other girls jealous. All this squabbling and all the nonsense. The officiating is horrible. Watching her get beat up and tossed around the court, it's just sickening. So then, they come out to this all-star game, and I don't even think she played, right?
She did not
She's
play.
hurt. They come out with these t-shirts that say, pay us what you owe us. Something to that effect.
Yep.
And my first thought is, well, I don't have a problem with that if they want to, protest something that way. It's been done in leagues before, right?
It has.
However, what they're owed is whatever that number is, 5-digit number on that contract that they signed.
Correct.
That's what they're owed. So just because all of a sudden, Caitlin Clark and others, they won't just leave it to her, there's a few others, right, that have brought this popularity of the league up, the attendance is up, TV viewing is up, now they want this money. And in their defense, do you know what percentage they make of the WNBA's income?
Do they make a difference?
They get 9% of the WNBA revenue goes to the players.
Okay.
So it ain't much. They're not getting paid much. But we didn't hear about this 5-6 years ago, right? Now all of a sudden things are picking up. They owe her a thank you. That Plum comes out then and makes some screwy statement about Team Clark wasn't represented in the meeting in the morning when they decided to wear these t-shirts. So she's making some comment about unification there, right? If they're gonna be, I think that was what the jab was. I don't get it. Even the girl next to her kind of looked at her like, what the hell are you saying? Why say that? So she came across as a total idiot. The whole thing just makes me sick, and it doesn't make me sick.
It's annoying.
It's annoying.
It's an annoying thing because then you're going to agree with me 100% on this. The WNBA has been what it is for 25 years, right? It's a great place for female athletes to continue playing basketball. They do play in big markets, but they're not making a lot of revenue. I mean, they're not making what the NBA makes. Agreed?
Well, for sure.
And they're getting...
They never will.
They never will unless something changes and all of a sudden the WNBA becomes the hottest thing since sliced bread or whatever. But until people fill the stadiums and pay $500 a ticket, this is what they're making. I saw one of the jokes on social media, it's making fun of this, Caitlin Clark saying, pay us what you owe us. He goes, yeah, well, all you players you owe us, the league, $138,000 each, because, they're not generating revenue.
Yep.
There's opportunities, and I think the sponsorships has helped with some of that, but until people fill the stadiums, it is what it is. That's how have you ever watched a Major League Soccer game?
No.
Soccer is one of the biggest sports in the world. Could you name one person in Major League Soccer?
Messi.
Could you name two?
Lionel Messi.
So it's all revenue based. Again, I get the whining, but at the same time, fill the stadiums, sell the jerseys.
Yeah, well, you get plenty of people come to watch when the Indiana Fever are in town, and it's not because of Kelsey Plum.
Do you think Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, do you think they got paid what they were owed?
Yeah, exactly. And the reffing sucks too. Those highlights, some of these games are just awful. I don't know. I'm not a fan right now, that's for sure. And those girls, I think, need to do a better job of becoming more likable. Let's put a little effort into that.
How about this? And before we even let our listeners get to us, this will be the last WNBA talk on here.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we're going to have some positive feedback from certain people.
Yeah,
out
we're
there.
done with the WNBA. We got to give the Mark Leaf tip of the cap, and we keep giving to the same guy. We got to give another one to my buddy Scotty Erickson. Went into the Hurley High School Athletic Hall of Fame yesterday.
Really?
Yep. They had
overdue, but I suppose you can't put people in when they're still coaching.
Right. So they had their big quarterback club golf thing.
I wonder if it was unanimous. Maybe he had one hater there that didn't vote him in.
I hope it was. I hope he had one voter not voting. Again, Mark Leaf tipped the cap to Scotty Erickson
Beautiful.
there. I don't know if he can get into any more Hall of Fames, but we got to find somebody else to get a tip of the cap to.
All right. Copper Country Sauna is the premier sauna builder in the Keweenaw, led by two brothers-in-law that share a passion for saunas and want to provide custom saunas to the Copper Country residents. When you are ready to throw some water on the rocks, visit our website at coppercountrysauna.com or give us a call at 906-281-9427.
All right, we got Crouchy's Corner today, and we got an interview with somebody you and I are very familiar with. One of our younger entrants to the pod, isn't? Don't you think? Probably on the.
Yeah, I guess.
We should have probably looked into that. But we got native of Iron Mountain, Paul Kuoppala, stud player for Bob's in Iron Mountain, All-American at Tech. Did a little coaching with you and Crows.
Yeah, it was. He's in Minneapolis area now and doing great. So it was good to talk to him.
All right. Well, thanks for joining SS3TP, Paul. Good to see you, like as always. And we'll ask you what we ask everyone. Have you ever actually listened to this podcast?
You know, I listened to an episode, I believe, was Santi was on there? Anthony Santi?
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Yeah, well, anything with Santi on it's a good one. So yeah, that pretty much does it for me.
Oh, boy. Well, at least you're honest and didn't make up a story. The last 3 or 4 interviewees we've had on haven't listened to any of them, so it's been good. We'll take one out of you, Quops.
All right, I like it.
So let's kind of dive into things here. Former Iron Mountain Mountaineer, athlete, and then went on to play football at Tech, being All-American. And obviously there's some connections between us and yourself, and from your coach, and then he spent some time coaching with Crouchy Oj at Calumet, and then just kind of catching up with you. But let's go back to Iron Mountain. And talk a little bit about your days growing up there, your program. You guys had some incredible teams when you're coming through there, but just talk about the culture with Iron Mountain a little bit and what you take away from some of those days.
Yeah, I guess I'll take it a little bit back further even. Actually, most people don't know this, but I've been given the Uper label, but that's not technically true. I was actually born just outside of Detroit, so in Wyandotte, so yeah, I'm a river rat, technically a troll, and then relocated when I was about 8-9 months old up to Spread Eagle, Wisconsin, about 2 miles from the Golden Nugget, if you're familiar with that fine establishment. So grew up, did elementary school at Florence, and really grew up as a hockey player. It was about 6th, 7th grade. The football coach, his son actually played hockey with me. His son's name is Ben Brownson. His old man is Greg Brownson, and he goes, "Man, you need to play football." And okay, I'll put some pads on, and ended up turning out that I was built a little bit better to play football than hockey. And then about 8th grade, we moved to Iron Mountain because there was no high school hockey programs that we were eligible to play in Wisconsin there. Moved into Iron Mountain middle of 8th grade, and that's kind of really where I would say my passion for football started. You know, you walk into Iron Mountain and you get to see the Izzo Mariucci weight room, and you're like, whoa, this is a whole different league. So yeah, I guess as far as Iron Mountain football culture, you know, I think Dale Powell was a freshman football coach, and it was just pretty evident early on that there was an expectation for everybody to be in the weight room. And if you weren't working out and you weren't with the team doing those activities, then good luck getting a shot playing. And then that just kind of evolved from there. We had a good freshman. We went 9-0. Same thing with our sophomore season. And actually would have been, the last game of the regular season, a gentleman named Adam Kent, who also was a Tech alumni for a short period there, ended up blowing out his ACL. And I was asked to come up to the varsity to play offensive line at about 160 pounds. So that was a rude awakening. I typically felt really good walking out on the field as far as my physical abilities. And I remember the first game I was on a kickoff, and I sprinted down the field to try and blow up a wedge, and I just got leveled. And the next thing I know, I'm looking up, and the snow is just hitting me in the face. And I get to the sideline, and welcome to varsity. I'm like, okay, it's a little different pace here, and ended up figuring it out. We had a really good run. Ended up running into Montague in the semifinals that year, and couldn't quite pull it off. But yeah, and then junior year was essentially the same thing. We ran into Montague and Ithaca. think that was kind of the two big teams that we battled with every year in the playoffs and couldn't quite get over the hump. But yeah, I mean, we had a really good group of kids in my grade, the 2011 class. Really strong athletes there, as well as in the 2010 class. You had mentioned getting to be coached by Coach Scott Body, so that was a blessing. I think one of the PTSD things in my brain that I'll always remember is just, it's hotter than the 4th of July out here, and Bod's running up and down the field as we're all dripping in sweat on 2-a-days. So, but yeah, that's kind of where the path went through Iron Mountain. We had a really big rivalry with Kingsford, and unfortunately that's fell through the wayside. I wish they would be able to bring something like that back, but we understand that there's not quite as much engagement or numbers over there to be able to play those games. But yeah, I had a really good high school career. I ended up getting some pretty good accolades. Was the Mid-Penn Offensive Lineman of the Year, and then was also the Defensive UP Player of the Year. So I think that's really kind of what set me up to be able to get scholarship opportunities and pursue playing football at the next level. My original plan, I guess, going into my senior season was I was a Michigan Wolverine fan, go blue. Wanted to go to the University of Michigan, ended up getting accepted to the school and getting a preferred walk-on status. And then I started looking at the finances, started going on some recruiting visits for a couple of D2 universities. And that's when I really got to have my run-in with Coach Curley and Coach Klingbeil. So RIP Coach Klingbeil. But I'll cover that story here in a little bit. But essentially laid out all the finances, between going to Ann Arbor and paying everything out of pocket and then having scholarship opportunities to come and play with Michigan Tech. Kind of a funny story. The first time I met Chuck Klingbeil was I was actually sitting in Body's advanced chemistry class about 9 a.m. in the morning. And then all of a sudden this big hulking guy just starts walking through the door. And I'm like, what the hell? Who is this guy? And Body right away goes, all right, class is over. Everybody do whatever you want. We're just going to hang out, And I'm like, what the hell? And then Bod's, Quops, come on up here. You got to meet this guy. And I go and I shake his hand. And I couldn't tell you, I've never felt anything like that in my life. I grabbed his hand and it was just a big ball of meat. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then all of a sudden Curly's coming in behind him. And it almost, I swear to God, there was an invisible dog leash around this guy trying to rein him back in. But so those were my first interactions with Coach Klingbeil and Coach Curley. Then had the opportunity to come on a recruiting visit up at Tech and had an absolute blast of a time. I won't go into all the details there because I don't know that they're acceptable for the audience out there, but definitely had a very good time on my recruiting visit. Had a really good meeting with Coach Curley, and a couple of the things that he pointed out to me was just, number one, he goes, you come play football at Michigan Tech, I can guarantee you're going to get a good education. You'll have a good job coming out of school. So he wasn't wrong on that one. And he goes, the two other things I'll promise you is that you'll be a captain of our football team and you'll be an All-American by the time you graduate. And I'm pretty fortunate that Coach Curley hit the nail on the head with that one. So all three of those, we were 3 for 3 there. So
very cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of the history, I guess, on my football playing career. Played a couple of games after college with Kamenberg, which was kind of some semi-pro type games, which the neat thing was we got to play a couple of games at US Bank Stadium here in Minneapolis. But tell you what, it's a little eerie when you're in that stadium and there's only about 300 people watching you and you can hear needles drop. So kind of a unique experience, but since then we've hung it up.
Let's go back a little bit here. We've talked about on different episodes the uniqueness and the intensity of the Iron Mountain Kingsford rivalry. We've had different people on from both sides of that. So you had mentioned moving into your junior high-ish or whatever when you moved into Iron Mountain. Of course, Tom Wender, the legendary coach at Iron Mountain prior to Bod's. and then all of Kingsford's success that they've had in that community that they're tied together. So when did you realize and then obviously playing in those games how big that was and the intensity, and then of course you guys had some pretty good success against Kingsford, especially your junior senior year, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I guess my all 4 years I went to Iron Mountain. Our teams beat Kingsford so my freshman JV year as well as the 2 years in varsity. But yeah, I would say it wasn't until we really took the field freshman year. I mean, you're talking a Thursday night football game, and it would felt like a varsity game with how many people were in the stands and all the older veterans that were there coming to watch. And you're like, man, I'm used to just our parents in the crowd, and now there's 700-800 people here to watch a freshman football game. And they ran kind of a goofy straight T offense then, and
Nothing goofy about it.
oh my goodness, you
Don't
guys,
get, don't get them going.
and I mean, I'll be honest, like I said, I came from playing hockey, so I had no idea what the heck I was doing on a football field. And all of a sudden, they're starting yelling numbers and letters and where my blocking assignment is and who I got to. And I just was, Danny Bateman, find the ball and go and get it. And that made it pretty tough when you're playing a straight T offense and having no idea who's got the football. But yeah, fortunately, we won our freshman year, followed that up again in our sophomore year. And I think it was, junior, senior year, once we took it to varsity, just the intensity of what that game means. And, it's not just a football game, it's an entire community event. I mean, you're talking 2,500 to 3,000 people, coming to watch that game on both sides. There's all the extracurriculars that go on with houses getting TP'd and egged and all that stuff. I guess the biggest thing for me is just, the intensity of walking into a stadium for the first time and there being that many people. I mean, especially my junior year, we played at Kingsford. They were ranked much higher than us. There was absolutely no shot we should have ended up winning that game, and we ended up winning 7-0, pitching a shutout. So that was a pretty incredible game, with all the odds stacked against us. And just, I think something else that I took away was just the emotion that you got from the seniors and, the expectation for the younger players to fill the roles and to be able to contribute to win those games. So, and I think personally, that's kind of what geared us up to be able to make all those long playoff runs is, it seemed like the Mid-Penn Conference itself was kind of split. You had your upper teams that were consistently good, and then you had some real tough bottom feeder programs. But, then you start to play a team like Kingsford, much bigger school. They're playing a lot harder competition than we are on a weekly basis, with the exception of, those few top tier programs in the Mid-Penn Conference. And then just stepping on that field and looking over at their roster and seeing they got 40, 50 guys on the sidelines and we only got 25, 30 guys. And I guess just the intensity of knowing that you're the underdog and you got to go play your ass off to win that game. So,
well, and again, it's nice that you keep in touch with some of your brethren from Kingsford. I'm sure you'll see a couple of those fine gentlemen this evening.
oh yeah.
How much crap do you get to talk to those guys about your success in those games? And I'm sure it's not a sore subject at all.
Oh no, not at all. I love talking about it. So, at least on my end, and it's mixed because, a couple of the older guys, they took it to Iron Mountain when they were in school. But then, fortunately when we were in, I never had that issue. And I can distinctly remember my senior year for practice, Bucky, or what was it? I think it was actually, yeah, it would have been my senior year. Bucky Johnson had come up and he was helping out with some of the practices with Bods. And we were just getting ready to be done with practice. And then all of a sudden it was, go get your running shoes on. And we had just ran sprints, gassers, down and backs. Go get your running shoes on. We're going to go spend some time on the track. And we're like, what the hell? And we must have ran for an extra 25, 30 minutes. And the whole time it was, calling out all the players on Kingsford's team that have the accolades or were supposed to be better than us. And I couldn't tell you how many times I heard Ian Winky's name come out of Bod's and Bucky's mouth. And it was kind of interesting because we ended up kind of switching our some of our offensive playbook around. Rather than having me run power from a guard and pulling guard position, they actually put me at like a wing Y back mover, and I would just motion and we'd run power at Ian every single time. And that poor kid, I swear to God, he wore number 69 all game.
Well, hey, speaking of moving you to another position, I talked to your old coach here this morning for a little bit. The one thing he wanted to bring up was, his great idea to get you off that old line and move you to fullback with the athlete that you are. In spite of what Marty thought about it, he put you at fullback. So how did your first ever carry go at fullback for Iron Mountain?
I think that was in practice, and I don't think it really ended up being a carry, if you will. I think it ended up on the ground and possibly going the other way, and that was, my short-lived running back career right there. And we actually did come back to it one of our games my senior year. I think it was against Gwyn or something of that nature, and we had a package where Luke Hartwig, who was the starting tackle right next to me, he would come in and play fullback, and I would play tailback. And this poor Gwyn team, we must have been up 50 points already, and Bod's, in his ultimate wisdom, decides that he wants to put the heavy package in on the 2-yard line and punch another touchdown in. And man, that was lame. I swear to God, I walked up, I grabbed the ball, and I just was in the end zone, and nobody touched me. And I think I want to say they probably saw us in the backfield and said, "Screw that, we're just going to lay down and not even get involved in this." So that was a little, I guess, not my favorite play right there. I'm like, why don't you just pitch the ball to me on the outside and let me run someone over? But
well, when you go back and one of the games, and I'm sure you remembered as well, but I remember the game when you guys played Montague and Cody Cater, and that was a dominant team. And then I remember the year you guys matched up with Ithaca in the Superior Dome, and things did not start out real well for you guys. And I can remember Coach Body calling the timeout and running out on the field and turn that into actually a heck of a ball game as Ithaca's beginning their run. But what do you remember about playing against those programs, the Montagues and then the Ithaca stuff? Two top-notch programs that had kids that went on to play Division I football.
yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was, man, did they spread the field out? UP football is line up and smash the guy in the mouth in front of you, where this was almost more West Coast spread options, 3-4 wide receiver sets with a quarterback who was bigger, faster, stronger than the majority of our offensive linemen. And Cody Cater just being an excellent athlete. I remember they ran a zone read play, and I sucked in on the running back, and I just remember watching him run 90-some yards past me and being like, oh, my God. And, obviously I missed the play, and I turn around and I look, and Tony Cesanero was one of the fastest kids that I knew in Iron Mountain, is just getting lapped by this guy, and he couldn't catch up to him. And I'm like, this is going to be tough. And then you followed up with, Matt DeYoung and a couple other wide receivers that are just burners as well. And it's like, wow, this is a whole different level. Ithaca, I would say, I think we matched up pretty good against Ithaca. From what I remember, we were actually taking it to them pretty hard early on, and we were just pounding the ball on them. I just remember running power and trap nonstop, and it just working and feeding. And then, unfortunately, we ended up throwing a pick six to end the half, and that kind of really took the wind out of our sails, and just couldn't really come back after that.
So, stellar high school career, and you mentioned your time at Tech. Give us some of your memories there, maybe big games, better games for you, or just some of your initial thoughts there, looking back at your Tech career on some of the better moments and most memorable ones.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think starting off was a little bit of a rough patch. I ended up having a pretty severe high ankle sprain the summer going into my first year at Tech. So I knew I was going to be redshirted, but just not really getting to be involved with much of the practice, the install stuff. and just trying to get bigger, stronger, faster is tough when you can't run and do the same drill work. So I just remember, hitting the weight room really heavy, and then just putting on so much weight. I want to say I gained like 40 pounds my freshman year. And I think a lot of that has to do with the weight program, but probably more of it has to do with drinking beer. So I remember, even in camp that first year, and actually would have been near the end of the season. I remember Klingbeil walking around, and we had another guy on our team, Tanner Hagen, who was just a monster and gave himself the self-proclaimed nickname was Beefy. And he came in to start out at a defensive end. And I remember Klingbeil asking him how much he weighed during warm-ups. And he's like, "Oh, I'm 240, coach." And you ain't even 220. He goes, "I bet Kaups over here has got to be 240. And he goes, "What do you say, Kaups? You want to come get your hand in the dirt?" And I just remembered looking over at Coach Olson and being like, "You better get this guy away from me. I do not want to have my hand in the dirt and do board drill with those assholes." So, so that was kind of, the early experience, and it's tough, I'll be honest. And I'm sure most of the guys that come in that go through the redshirt process is just, you come from being king shit and being the best player on your team to now you're redshirted, you're barely a practice squad, and you're just getting beat on. And, fortunately, playing scout defense, I think, is a lot more favorable than playing scout offense. I mentioned Ian Winky and our run-ins together growing up and playing football against each other, and then also playing, baseball, all-star leagues and things like that. Well, we ended up being roommates our freshman year in the dorms, and I can remember coming back from practice and I'm just tired, beat up, and just Ian can't even see straight. His eyes are just crisscrossed applesauce, and I'm like, "What happened to you?" He goes, "Those big ups Thursday today, and then Vegas took my head off." And I mean, we don't dare muddle the C word, but I'm pretty sure his eggs were scrambled a couple of times coming down the hill. And I'm like, you know what? I'll keep playing scout D. I'm glad I'm on the right side of the ball, So, and I had a pretty good relationship. I had it figured out with, who the guys on offense weren't the ones to piss off. You'd run up hard into, let them kind of lock up, block you out, do your thing, make sure you're not interrupting the play, but giving them a good enough look. So, and then really when things turned on was, I would say, spring ball, just starting to finally find the rhythm, get a lot more reps. And then that led into my freshman year, I should say redshirt freshman year. So first year playing where, I don't know whose bright idea it was, but the thought process was we're going to bring Paul in to be a third down blitz package coverage expert, if you will. I'm like, man, if you go back and you watch the film from Iron Mountain, there wasn't a whole lot of pass dropping there and coverages, So, but their intuition was right and ended up working out. I can remember my very first game plan. We played against Tiffin, and we were kickoff right away. First play of the game, we're hit squad, and we nuked one down deep. And I remember just smoking the returner at like the 7-yard line. Very first time I touched the field and being like, you know what? I think I can keep up with these guys. This is a pretty good pace. and I'll joke that probably still might have been my best game that I ever played, was my very first time touching the field. Just I think because the expectations were lower and some of the plays, had that kickoff right away, smoked a guy at a 7-yard line. Ended up getting a scoop and score touchdown on my very first game. And then we also ran a punt back, and I was the personal protector for the punt returner. And it was, basically Bobby Boucher, where he had his hand on my back and we were just running through people and he didn't even get touched. So LZ ended up housing that one. And that was probably, I would say, some pretty good highlight film material right there. So, and then my second game ended up getting an interception against, what the heck was the team? Finley, I think. Ended up getting a pick in the red zone, on third down. So that was kind of a huge play there. And fortunately ended up getting freshman of the year honors through the team. So that just kind of really rolled into, the setting up the rest of the career where, it went from just, hey, this is a package type player to now you're heavily involved in the rotation, even with some of these older veterans like, Dan Peralt, Taylor Zilkowski, and getting to earn my playing time on the field with some of those guys. So, and then I guess one other kind of interesting game was my senior year. We played against Malone, and I think I ended up getting like 22 tackles or something like that in that game. A couple of them were some big goal line stops, and ended up getting a free kill shot on a quarterback where I thought there was a flag, and it ended up being that there was a false start on their team. So, they took the 5-yard penalty and they got their quarterback killed all in the same place. That was a big win. And then immediately, as soon as I saw the flag, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What the hell? And the ref, no, that's false start on them. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We'll take it.
So you transition you finish up your time at Tech, and now you're going to get your feet wet coaching. And now you're getting thrown into a whole new world under the tutelage of Oj and Crows and Geo and those guys. But I remember your time up at Cal well, but talk a little bit about that. That was, I know those guys had a blast, and I really enjoyed you when you were around there as well.
Yeah, I'll echo that. It was funny before I came on the show. I was like, do I wear my Copper King shirt on there, or do I throw an Iron Mountain shirt on there, or do I put a Tech shirt on there? So I figured I'd rock the Tech polo today. But no, I guess to take it a step back, my initial interactions with Calumet was mostly through playing hockey. And then, I don't know whether you call it a privilege or a negative getting to have to play against those guys in the playoffs, both my junior and senior year, and just hating them. It was just, you knew that you were going to end up with your head ringing after anytime you played Calumet. And it was tough fought games. I think Crouchy probably stole something out of Bods' book, or vice versa, a little bit when we played against them my senior year, where they put Ike Bajorn back at fullback, and they must have ran ISO 40 something times, and it was just me and Ike smashing into each other every play. And both of us, I remember having a couple of beers afterwards, a few years later, and just being like, when we die and they cut our heads open and there's all these holes in our brain, we can thank Crouchy and Bods for that one right there.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, just I had the opportunity. Crouchy reached out to me once I was done. I guess how it worked is I had finished my fifth season, I should say, at Tech, and I was working on my master's degree. And I had pretty much just finished up my master's program and was in a little bit of like a transition area between, getting out in the real world and getting a career job and working at the Keweenaw Brewing Company. And, shout out KBC.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I think that's the thing I like the best about your coaching time at Calumet. Was my truck was parked over by the locker room there, and you happened to walk by and drop off some damaged goods for me. I appreciate that greatly.
Yeah, we take care of the guys over there. So, but yeah, Crows approached me, and I'm like, man, that sounds like a blast, and put a little bit extra money in my pocket, and also get to have an opportunity to kind of give back and see what it's like coaching. I've always wanted to coach. I felt like there was, some of that opportunity as like a leader, mentor role, when I was playing at Tech, but then getting to actually work with high schoolers and be a lot more involved in some of like the decision making, formations, plays, that sort of thing. It was a lot of fun. And I mean, Calumet, I'll be honest, they've had an excellent program. They got kids that work their tails off, and they show up, and you're probably going to get the tutelage of fifth, sixth, seventh generation of family kids coming through and playing. So maybe a 5 years later, but half the roster still has the same last names on it. So kind of neat from that standpoint.
And we had a heck of a team that year. Pretty talented senior laden crew, and there's a couple of games I want to throw at you, see if you remember them. One of them we got to bring up because I take some heat from these coaches at Hurley once in a while. Do you remember the game at Hurley? We had
not exactly.
They had that full house tee, and I was hoping you remember, because we ran a hook and ladder later part of the second half on our sideline, and those damn Hurley coaches, and they're across the field, and they claim that ball bounced before we were able to flip the ladder, get the ladder into it. And, we had a big playoff that game. I was just hoping that you were right there and saw that that ball was certainly not touching the grass when we caught it.
I can't recall that one. I remember watching it on film now, but I don't remember seeing it during the game. I mean,
Well, you should have lied.
Yeah, you should have lied. A lot of Hurley guys listen to this pod.
okay. Well,
And
shame
then
on them.
the other one, Quaps, is the playoff game. It still goes down in one of the greatest games I've ever been involved with coaching wise. That 6-0 war that we had at Nagani.
Nagani. Yep.
And
Yeah.
we punched one in finally. I think Trav was a sophomore. I think he got involved in like a block punt or something screwy. We got the ball. Kaipio scores a touchdown, and it took us 4 plays to get 1.5 yards to finally punch it in. And you remember
Yep.
Moulton goes right down the field and throws a bomb, and they're down like first and goal on the 10 with seconds remaining. And I
Yep.
think Rory Anderson or somebody knocked it down. But you remember that game?
Yeah. Yep. I remember that one. Yeah, and I remember the repercussions of that game too. That was because we had lost to Nagani earlier in the season, right? And then we had the revenge tour game, and most of you guys are familiar with the playoff haircuts, right? All the seniors grab the young kids and they butcher their hair and make them look all like idiots, and most of those guys get involved too. And I remember Russ looking at me, Coach Kuoppala, are you gonna get your hair cut for a playoff hair? And I said, oh, you know what? Let's give it a couple of weeks. And I was like, let's get through this week, play a good game, and if we get our revenge crack at Nagani and we beat them, I'm like, the world's the limit. You guys do whatever you want to my hair. I don't care. And we ended up winning that game, just like you're saying there. And I had to pay. I had to pay up, so I sat down in the chair, and man, did they sure hack me up. And kind of a funny story. So it was a few weeks after that. I essentially what happened is I had the nice beard and I had my hair cut. Well, they ended up just shaving this spot right here, so I had big mutton chops, and then they shaved the sides and essentially left a little rat tail mullet on the sides. And my girlfriend at the time wasn't too impressed when I came home, but I can remember a couple weeks later sitting in the KBC and John Sandell, Skinny. I'm sure you guys are well aware of Skinny. He looks at me and he goes, "When are you going to get a real job, Kuoppala?" I'm like, well, what do you mean? I work at the brewery. I'm coaching football. You're the best thing in the world. He goes, yeah, I get that, but what's going to pay your bills? And then he goes, well, I got a job opportunity for you, but you can't show up looking like that. So I ended up going home that night and having to get my hairs trimmed up and cleaned up in order to prep for a couple interviews following that. So.
Oh, that was good stuff. A lot of good memories. You were great with the kids, and that was a fun year for sure.
Yeah, it was a blast, and I remember even getting ran in the dirt by some of those kids when running sprints with them and stuff like that. And I looking back on that now, I'm like, man, I think Big Lenny probably would walk me down right now if we had to run a 40.
Well, Paulie, we appreciate you talking with us. It's always good to talk with you. Always good to catch up with you. Make sure you guys stay sober during that softball game tonight.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
I will say that we might not have the best team in the league, but we definitely go through our fair share of beers. So it's a good crew. So I'll make sure that I holler at some of those old Fliver Nation guys with Winky and Santi tonight when I see them, and let them know that we had a little bit of a fireside chat this morning.
Perfect.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, appreciate it, gentlemen. You guys have a good one.
Located 8 miles south of Lake Linden on the Boojak Road, the Dreamland Restaurant's your choice for great dining. Family owned and operated for over 100 years. Whether you are in the mood for Mexican Monday specials, burgers, pizza, or Friday fish fry, Dreamland is your next stop. Listener questions. We'll start with Paul from Boise because he sent his in like on the Saturday or Sunday, and we had taped it a little bit earlier. So we'll start with him. Howdy, boys.
Howdy,
Paul. I know it's all about money, but can we do something to shorten MLB, NBA, and NHL playoffs so we're not playing hockey and basketball in June, and baseball in November. March Madness and pro college football got it right. Seed your teams, one loss, you're out. Paul from Boise, yes.
Well, the NBA, that's ridiculous how long they stretch that out with the time off there. He's 100% correct. We don't need to be watching NBA basketball in late June. I don't watch the NHL. I have no clue how long they stretch those games out. It's the same as the
NBA.
A lot of it's the TV stuff, right? I mean, you got to they want to have these games spaced out so they can get the best viewing options for people. Then we get into the time thing, right? You watch these games at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. Now, baseball, to me, though, I enjoy that. But it does get a little sketchy with them, too, because baseball players are accustomed to, right, that schedule. They're every day, 1 day off, go. And then when you start stretching that stuff out in the playoffs, more teams now, too, it makes it a little long also. But that's the one where I can choke that down a little better than the others because it's October during the week, no football on Sunday, or football's only on Sundays. I shouldn't say that, football's Thursday through.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, but you can, it breaks that up a little bit, and I enjoy watching the baseball playoffs. So, but he's correct, it is a total annoyance with how long.
Play back to back. I mean, it's whatever. The NBA, NHL, too long. Playoff. They just drag them out. So thanks, Paul from Boise.
I got lip sweat going right now.
No, it's muggy in here today. It's gonna be a Lake Superior day. I'm going
swim trunks for the day.
Yes.
One of those types.
Yes. I think we're gonna take a ride out today, and I'm gonna just wear trunks out there.
All right, behave yourself.
I will. B-Dubs, gentlemen, what's your best celebrity encounter?
I had to think about this one, and initially I thought, man, I don't know if I really had one, and then I started, okay, now I've come up with two.
Really?
I got two. And one was talked about on this podcast, and it goes back last year, or 2 years ago now. 2 years ago, football, NFL. Got tickets with a couple that you might know, down to the Lion game.
Yep.
Got to watch Tech on Saturday at Wayne State, and then went in for the Lions. I believe it was Carolina, doesn't matter, but they were in the middle of their big season, and our seats were excellent seats, 50-yard line, and I looked behind me, and there he was, about 10 yards back in the booth, number 48, Daryl Moose Johnson.
Remember, I think we had that picture on our Twitter.
Yeah, so I went up there and made an ass of myself and hollered down to him or hollered up to him, and he gave me a reply. So that was kind of cool for me. Spent a lot of time watching him block ice for Emmett over the years. And then the other one, on the music side of things, goes back a couple of years. At the Calumet Theater, I went in with my Towns Van Zandt t-shirt on, because he spent a lot of time in the kitchen of Guy and Susanna Clark in Nashville. Great Texas singer-songwriter Rodney Crowell. And he made a little reference, noticed I had the shirt on, and I stopped him in the yard between, little grassy area between the theater and the bus. There I was, so he couldn't get around me. And I asked him what his favorite Towns Van Zandt song was, and we had a brief little conversation. I think he was starting to get a little worried. It didn't call security, but probably close. But then I allowed him to get back on his bus safely, so that was kind of cool for me too.
This one I could go a lot of different ways. When I was working with the Vikings and the Packers, I got to spend a lot of time with a lot of big name guys. We hung out with Mike Tyson, his brother, all the time. When William Henderson was with the Packers, he was running his camp. He would come out with us. We hung out with that. Got to meet a lot of those guys. So a lot of Packer players, Viking players over the years. I got somewhere in my shrines. I got Amon Green autographs and pictures and all that stuff. And I remember we met Dante Culpepper and Adrian Peterson, all that stuff. But here's an interesting one, and this one's more recent. And you're going to get a charge out of this, I think I told you. Did I ever tell you I had dinner with John Gruden?
Yes. This is Florida, right? Spring break?
Yep, we're coming back from spring break, and it ended up being the trip from HE double
Oh,
to
yeah,
it, but we're with our friends, right? We have close friends that live down in the Tampa area. Beth's cousin, her husband's awesome, right? So we're staying with them, and they live in this real rich neighborhood on a golf course. It's, private community, and John Gruden lives next door to him. Tony Dungy lives by there. So we go over to the club for dinner, and I had dinner with John Gruden.
How far away was he?
Well, he didn't have dinner with me, but he was sitting at the table next to us, and they exchanged pleasantries with the people that we knew.
Were you close enough to him that you could tell us right now what he had for dinner?
I stopped doing that after. I didn't want to get creepy. His wife came in first, and then he came in afterwards, because they were sitting at a table generally close. So it was a smaller venue, but we'll remember Chris Spielman?
Oh yeah.
It was, I rode in the elevator with him. It was after the state championship game.
Just the two of you?
No, it was me and a couple other players, Coach Warner. We were going up to the press conference at the Silverdome, and he was broadcasting the game. We got in the elevator to get up to the press area, and Spielman was in that rode the elevator with us.
Did you, as soon as the doors opened, did you go, "Hey Chris, Ohio State sucks"? Give him one of those?
I'd missed that opportunity.
Chicken shit. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, you can deal with this guy.
Here we go. Whack job. What sports franchises, professional or national, do you think have been the most dominant over multiple decades? I'm thinking along the lines of the New York Yankees in the 40s and the 50s, Soviet Union's hockey, the Red Machine, from around that same time. He said his choice is USA Women's Soccer, who won 4 World Cups and 5 Olympic golds from the 90s until now. If Crouchy mentions the Packers during this discussion, I'm deleting your podcast from our playlist, from my playlist.
Packers.
You can go first.
Obviously, the ones that jump out to me are the Yankees and the Celtics. But I'm going to go a little different route here, Oj. I don't think you would.
The Celtics have like 17 titles, right?
Yeah.
So he's looking at expanded decades. He mentioned it, so it's not okay. Go ahead.
I'm going to go college. I'm going to go UCLA with John Wooden.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact years, but that was a run. And then how about UConn women?
That was one of mine.
I mean,
The recency bias there. Gino's still going with that.
yeah, but it's not even recency anymore.
That's true.
It's 30 years.
Well, yeah, he mentioned decades, so I guess that's probably the best one.
I mean, didn't UConn women start cranking up like in the 90s?
Yeah, how old is? Well, one of his players at Staley, she's coaching for. They just South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah.
And then how old is Rebecca Lobo now? Right, those girls.
Yeah.
they
So
go
they've
back.
been around for a long time. I'm going to go college. I'm going to go John Wooden and Gino with their programs and their dominance because they really did dominate.
Yeah, and the two that came to mind, UConn was one of them. But and I hate to do this because I know there's going to be a certain member of my family that'll be yapping about this, but well, actually, two will be. But you can't deny the Belichick-Brady Patriots. I mean, it extended decades, 7 Super Bowl rings, just consistency, greatness for a lot of years, the 2000s and beyond, right?
Yep.
So that's the one, and then going back a little bit, the Jordan Bulls. I mean,
That's another one I had too. I mean, you take away the time period when he was off playing baseball. I mean,
yeah, six titles, and
Really,
would have been more if he didn't take off.
and it was really 6 titles in 6 years with him.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So
And the last one too, just our hockey people probably want to throw it out there, is that in that 80s, decade of the 80s, the dominance of Edmonton Oilers with Gretzky.
yeah,
That's probably one there to mention. So, pretty solid question from the whack job.
it is. We got Dan from Quantico.
Oh, jeez.
And he's taken a little, he's actually a little upset with us. He goes, I enjoyed the discussion around Z's question on the last episode, the whole summer football in Wisconsin being unregulated. Probably no surprise to either of you, but I disagree with your take. Regardless of that, I've often wondered why there isn't spring football around here like there is down south and obviously at the college level. Would having a 2-week spring football period be an acceptable compromise? Dan, I think you either I said it incorrectly or you misinterpreted, but I'm all for doing all the extra stuff. I've always done it. I just don't like the fact that there's not a plan in place for how to go about it, because then it's gonna get abused. And you're gonna put kids in bad spots that are gonna have to choose between things.
Yeah.
If you wanna give us a 2-week window where you have football every day, I'm in, I'll be there. And then the kids know that these are the times we're doing it, and you can actually plan around it. That was my complaint about it, is that when you unregulate it and you just basically, now your coach can say we gotta be here every day. You got some 10th grade kid that tells mom and dad that he can't come up and stay at Urkula's because they got football, and it's mandatory.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's a good point, Dan. I'm with you on this.
I don't mind the spring, if there was spring football allotted, that would have been great. We'd have to be in the gym doing something.
Yeah.
But number one is, you gotta be able to work with the spring coaches. You can't be taking kids off of a track, putting pressure on kids to not go to track practice or baseball practice because you're holding these workouts. And you also cannot be making these kids feel like they're missing out on something because you're putting that type of pressure on them. They still gotta be kids, they gotta be able to choose what they wanna do. So coaches need to work together in the school districts to allow this type of stuff to happen. And then the coaches gotta be smart about how they put pressure on kids to make them feel like they have to do this or else, right? I don't mind, if you're running a program, you better have some off-season stuff. You gotta take advantage of the chances you can get, but you gotta be smart and you gotta police a little bit, like you said. You can't just have it the wild, wild west where you're doing whatever you want. And now Wisconsin's into this where some coaches, like we said, Bayport's is going nuts. West of Pier,
Right.
using the same system that they have always and not going completely crazy.
And again, most people will do it the right way. But the pressure comes in when Team A over here, and then they start winning, and you get some knotheads on your school board or whatever that are saying that we need to be doing. It's like you got to do what's best for your kids. But I'm on your side of this, Dan. If you wanted to do football 365, I'd be there. But I also got to make sure that I got enough players that it will come time to kick off.
We push for 3 sport athletes.
All right, cask and flagon.
All right, let's see what we got here. Solid advice to whack job last. Oh, that's right. We had. I forgot about that question. Yeah.
Changing lives.
Yeah. So he says solid advice to whack job last podcast. I believe that disc golf is a great way to stay competitive while getting some exercise. I'm fairly certain that I have met whack job before. I think it possibly was at the South Branch. Interesting. If memory serves me correctly, whack job should spend more time outdoors. It seemed to me he was a bit afraid of being in the great outdoors. Wow. I know that he comes from rock solid parents. Yes, he does. Both great people. Yes, they are. My question for you, who is the most important person to you to ever see you play or coach a game, and why? I had a tough time coming up with that. I remember my first ever varsity coaching game at Cal basketball season. I remember my dad and Mick Nisbar came from Ewan to watch the game. So that one sticks with me. Competing wise, I don't know. The one thing that came to my mind though was it was cool for me as a coach and a parent to have friends and family, friends from Ewan, wherever, family from wherever, come to see my boys play football, basketball. I remember Mike Mackey showing up at the UP All-Star game in Newberry basketball for Matt, and I remember odd ones like Bimbo, my old basketball coach, and Rocky Belangi from Ewan, Rocco and the Branch forever. They came and watched the boys play football at West Iron, in a game. So stuff like that I remember, and that probably meant more to me to have friends and family go and watch those two compete when they were in high school or college, for that matter.
Ditto. I'm gonna exactly the same. Obviously when you're playing, your family is important to you, right? Yeah, that's a no-brainer. And then as you get into coaching, we're fortunate to have our kids play. It's always nice to see people that you looked up to, wanted to see how your kids performed. It was Coach Warner coming back to Lake Linden to watch a game every now and again was good. There was a few years back, right towards the end of when I was coaching, we played, I think, down in Bark River, and Russ was still with us, and there's a good picture of Russ and Ron standing on the sideline at a game. Like, that was cool. But essentially, it's your friends and family that, you know, that really that matter. So, good question. Yeah, this is actually a good question, too. Jesse from Appleton. What are your top 5 times to have that first beer?
He's asked that question.
Has he?
I'm fairly certain.
I don't know. I was thinking about this
Let's
one.
put it on a poll.
We'll put it on. We haven't put something on the poll in a while. Although I did catch that big fish on the poll.
Oh, can you put that on Bookface or anything?
I talked to our media. I don't have control of the Bookface.
That was, for those of you that don't know, Crouchy caught a 12-pound laker. 12?
12 pounds, yeah.
Yeah, that the other day. So we actually were made aware of that in Appleton for Doug Parts Unknown for her graduation party.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that. That was pretty impressive.
Top best beer, best time to have a beer, right after a Saturday afternoon football game in Lakeland, and walk into the Legion and see everyone there, and someone hands you that first one, that sucker goes down like a glass of ice water.
See, I know we've had this. I think it was Jesse. That boy, I know he's asked this question before. Because mine, always, that first ice cold one when you drive up and get to your deer camp, and I know I got 4 or 5 days or whatever it is to just do deer camp stuff, and that's always good. Coaching wise, when you know, after a good win, Friday night, whatever, like you mentioned, that was great. The other one I thought of too, I'm not giving them 5. Nothing like cold one in that plastic cup with peanut shells falling in there, and sitting back, third base side, Miller Park, watching the Brewers. Or tailgate beer, you know, with the smell of all those. So Miller Park those are my 3, I think.
Listen, after the Saturday football game, that one, that's not even close. It's one, and then there's nothing else. But another one I do enjoy is, like, you know, you travel for spring break, like even
good one.
Like the one, and I don't know so much now with the all inclusive. That's a little bit different. But like when we would go to Destin and we'd drive down there, you got that haul, and you get to your house, and you got to go grocery shopping. And that first day, you get to the beach, you're lugging your coolers, you got your little lowrider chairs, and you finally, you and the boys, we sit down in those chairs, and you go, and that beer right there.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. The all-inclusive ones, the beer sucks, but you just got to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Red Stripe for 7 days. But yeah, that's a good call.
That's a good one. Or if you run into a buddy you haven't seen in a long time, you know, and you get together and you had that. And
see, in a lot of I know Jesse from Appleton and others, they're into the micro beer IPA stuff, and
not IPA. I hate IPA.
Going to those brew pubs and that stuff. I think, you know, you're probably a little more into that. Well, a lot more into it than I am. Maybe not as much as him, but you know, I don't get into that. But I suppose some people that enjoy that stuff, you know, picking out something different and trying it, I guess.
No, I'm just saying, like, if, you know, Mike Letty comes into town.
Yeah.
Haven't seen him in a while. That beer tastes good. It could be a Pabst Blue Ribbon. Could be a Stroh. That could never be a Stroh's.
All right, are we on to Blinter from Stearns County?
Is this the one that was just coming off suspension that changed? Is he changing his name?
I think so, because it was Stearns County. I can't believe we got 2. So it was Robert.
Is he
Stearns County?
Are we suspending him again for impersonating a question?
We'll have to bring it up.
This has got to be fraud.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder if he's trying to pull one over on us here, but he says, good morning. You have to eat food. If you have to eat one food for every meal for the next year, what are you picking? So he's got three parts of this. So that's number 1.
There's 2 of them that are.
Well, let's answer one at a time here. So,
are you going to say chicken strips?
No. You're going to be impressed with how I pulled this off.
Really?
Yep.
This is a plot twist.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm going to take salad. Why? Because you can change up the salad. I could have chicken in my salad.
You could have chicken strips in your salad.
Yeah. I could put some fruit in the salad. I could take away salad.
All right. I'm going soup.
Because you can change up the seal. Excellent. I think
Boom, we got
I think
him.
Stuck it to him on
Yeah.
that one. Go eat your
Suck
eggs.
it, Blinter.
Next, if you were thrown into medieval times, what weapon are you choosing to carry into battle and why? Are you going sword and shield, longbow from a distance, big two-handed axe, maybe even something weird like a flail or a warhammer? Horse or no horse? You gotta have a horse. How the hell are you gonna get away?
Yeah.
I'm not standing here to fight, so I own a fast horse. But I think, yeah, hopefully I would be born into a family that had some people that could teach me to sword fight.
You want a sword?
Ned Stark type. I would go sword, shield, instantly. Preferably sword made from Valyrian steel. I think I'd have the skills and athletic ability to not only be good, plus I could use either arm. You know, I could definitely use my right arm sword fighting.
What about your shoulder injury?
Well, I think that'd be all right, unless I'm really lunging. Yeah, I feel that a little bit. But I guess, yeah, you gotta have the shield in one hand too, right? So, but I could switch. Yeah, I'd go sword for sure. I'm not lugging around anything else. It's gotta be something comfortable. Slide into the sheath.
I'm gonna go with the thing that looks like you do in the hammer toss. Like
Where are you gonna put that? How are you gonna carry that?
in your throat. What? It's just a stick with a ball.
So if you're gonna be riding around, you're gonna have that thing dangling off, bouncing into the horse?
Yeah.
That's weak.
Well, you took sword. I don't know. Do you want me to do joust?
So you got one throw. You're gonna fling that thing, then it's, what happens when it leaves your hand? Then you gotta, hold
Okay.
on, I gotta go get my,
First of all, we're never going back to medieval times. And let's be honest, if there's a conflict, you and I will be as far away from that conflict as humanly
it
possible.
goes back to the fast horse. My horse just has to be a little faster than yours.
I know. But that steel's going to be heavier on yours. My horse will be able to run faster because I don't have my weapon anymore.
If you are the Tigers manager, what are you doing to keep the clubhouse loose? Here we go with that Tiger question I was talking about. Are you getting them a pizza party? What do you think AJ Hinch is doing there?
First thing we're going to do is I'm going to say, screw the bullpen. Scooble, you're starting. Flaherty, if he doesn't go, you're finishing. And we're going to win a game. Because you know goddamn well, as soon as that bullpen comes in, everyone goes, oh, great.
I mean, baseball is a superstitious sport to begin with, right? So they've got to, after 12 losses in 13 games, they've probably tried at least 3 to 4 different screwy things.
Well, they keep letting the bullpen ruin games. He hasn't tried fixing that.
I think it's got to be, somebody's got to loosen up that crew a little bit, like maybe,
Change up the lineup, maybe.
yeah, well, that's for sure. But I think they got to go. Everybody wears their socks inside out, or their spandex, or maybe no spandex. They free ball it for a game, something like that. Take the pressure off. You're laughing their ass off in the dugout because Torkelson's up there.
We're in the what was one Bull Durham where he
Swinging both bats as he's up.
where Nuke had he wore like the garter.
Yeah, see? Yeah, exactly. Something like that. They got to loosen things up because the tension is high in that clubhouse right now.
Yeah,
Maybe that's it. They should all get high.
maybe they have been. That's the issue. I don't know.
So anyway, that was Blinter from Stearns County. And is that it for the day?
It is.
All right. Is it Blue Notebook
It
time?
is Blue Notebook, and this got to be last page today.
Well, I've been starting to we're down to, 3 sides, I guess. 1, 2, so we're getting there. And I mentioned a couple weeks ago how I was going to go, whether people like it or not, or care or not, I'm going back-to-back Beatles. My top 2 favorite Beatles songs. So, before the White Album was released in 1968, the Beatles apparently had a little disharmony within the group. And they handled it by going to, hey, this is what the Tigers should do. They went to India on a retreat to transcendental meditate.
Oh, maybe they could go with Aaron Rodgers.
There you go. Apparently, the camaraderie within the band was affected to the point where Paul and John weren't big fans of this song. And it was written by their lead guitarist, George Harrison. So Harrison even reached out to his old buddy, Eric Clapton, not old buddy, but friend at the time, to help him finish and fine-tune what ended up being my second favorite Beatles song ever. Written by George at a time when the group was struggling to get by and get along, it was released on the White Album 2 years before their breakup in 1970. So here it is, While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles.
All right, Oj, back-to-back Beatles.
Yeah.
And it was probably tough because with the Ozzy Osbourne, probably a lot of people were hoping that he would pick an Ozzy song, but solid with the Beatles.
Yeah, I wouldn't know the words of Ozzy song other than just a few, so.
Crazy Train.
But we did a little,
Yeah, we did a
something,
little
yeah,
intro to him, so.
that was good. Yeah, so we're winding down the month of July. Things are gonna change for you in the month of August.
Yep. And we're gonna shift gears too. We're gonna start looking to get into some prediction stuff again.
Yeah, well,
So
it's, I
looking
would
at-
say next week, or in 2 weeks,
Or next week.
training camp is gonna be,
I think what we're gonna start with college football, and we're gonna start off right off the bat with our Heisman, who we think's gonna win the Heisman. Then we're gonna start looking at who's gonna win the Big Ten playoff and all that.
you know, football training camps are a weekend now too.
Yes.
So I'm sure we'll have some more, we'll have some thoughts on that as we get closer to the start of the NFL season. We gotta get, I don't care if people listen to it or not, but it was fun last year. We took the teams that we were over under on
Oh, yeah.
win totals.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're gonna start taking a look at.
Do that, Super Bowl predictions, division winners. But yeah, it's gonna be fun time of year coming up, but busy for you, so we'll see how we end up working our schedule here and deal with it around your time, so.
It's hot in here today, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are sweating.
I'm ready for cooler time.
See you, Oj.
Talk to you later, Crouchy.